You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time.
As you said, Charlie, there's two seasons in the NFL. There's football season and then there's waiting for football season. And even in waiting for football season, after the draft, after the schedule release, there's always news, always stuff to talk about, which is why we're here today. And we have a special guest. And I've also got a story which I want to go through, but I'll save it for bonus time because when you've got a guest, you want to get to, their thoughts and opinions as soon as possible. So before we bring anyone else on, Mr. Charlie Touche, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm good, bro. Chopping it up with guests is always cool. You get to hear different vantage points and perspectives of people. But this particular guest, it's like, all our people that come to the podcast are so dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just really want to say he's like my favorite. But then all of them are my favorite, bro. But we're not going to do all that. We're going to get into it and chop it up with them. It's Go Time Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins podcast that goes not only across the pond, but across the world. I'm your boy, Charlie Touche. I got my co-host, Kadeem Simmons, with me. It's always for the fans and by the fans. Your favorite podcast. And we're going to bring in Lee, 5YardLee from the DolFan UK, the official Miami Dolphins podcast network. What up, bro?
How you doing?
What you been up to, man?
Busy working, man. So much work. But I'll be honest, I hope my boss isn't listening to this. I was glad he was out of the office on schedule release day. Like, I was trying to do graphics and getting way too excited watching rumors drop about the schedule.
Yeah, man. Bro, what did you think about the schedule when it came out? Like, what was the first thing you saw? What did you think about it? All right, this is the first thing that stood out to me.
So Kadeem will know this, like this feeling. The first thing that happens for us is a couple of days before the schedule drops, you get those international games drop. And you're like, do I want to give up a home game? And like, no. Like, as a fan, I love seeing the Dolphins play. I like seeing them play here. That's so great. I'd rather they play at Hard Rock and had the advantage of playing there. Now, giving up being on the road in an international game, that's like that's like the best it could possibly be. So getting that a couple of days early and finding out the Dolphins are going to be in Frankfurt was a massive surprise, a pleasant surprise. I was really surprised it was the Chiefs. I mean, that to me had prime time written all over it in the US. I'm interested to find out what Kadeem thinks, but that might be the best international game that there's ever been.
What do you think, Kadeem? That's the best international game ever in the history of the NFL?
On paper, yes. It's one of those things where, as people from the UK, we look at the London games, and most of the times we've got the Jags, and the Jags haven't been that good. So you get the Jags, it's like, oh, great. So you've always got one team going, why are you even here? And then, if you're lucky to get two good teams, you normally get two good teams when they're kind of past it or the quarterback's on the way out. So in terms of, as Lee put it, a game in which this could 100% be Sunday night football or Monday night football, this is probably the first time you go, yeah, how the NFL allowed this game to be played internationally and not in the US on a, like I said, Monday night football. Yeah, well done to the Dolphins, I guess.
Hey, do y'all feel like, since y'all are in London, do y'all feel like the NFL likes Germany more than they like the UK? Like, dang, y'all gave this game to Germany? Y'all couldn't give this to us? Is there something there for that?
Yeah, I can agree more. I was, I say, floored. I think it's the best game this season. I mean, the only game that comes close to it is that Chiefs Rams game that ended up that was in Mexico. I think it didn't end up getting played in the States anyway because the field was all messed up in Mexico.
I remember one game it was scheduled for Mexico, and then I think it was played in the US, but not at a neutral field. I thought maybe
it might have been, but I mean, as far as games coming this way, yeah, I think it might be because I honestly thought the Dolphins had a great chance of being the opening, the season kickoff game in Kansas City. We've Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas and stuff like that. Two good teams. Obviously, the schedule makers kind of believe what we believed, like putting us in those. We were saying earlier, not prime time slots, but solo games when there's nothing else on. Getting 5 of those, obviously they agree. So yeah, I thought we were actually had a shot at that game, but hey, I'm not complaining about it being close to home.
You got something for us, Kadeem?
I was fact checking that Chiefs Rams game, and I don't think it was that one. If it was, it wasn't the one I'm looking at right now.
But there was a Mexico game that stayed in the States, and because the field wasn't in a good enough condition, and I thought it went to a neutral site, but maybe it didn't go to a neutral site. So
no, you're right. So it was that game. So 2018, the turf didn't meet NFL standard. So 6 days before the game was meant to be played in Mexico, they moved it to, I guess, back to LA. And that game was the 54-51 game to the Rams. It was just like, oh my days, what an absolute mental game. So if you were that game meant to be in Mexico, but I guess, the Rams, the Rams got an all-timer at home.
So something else happened in 2018, Kadeem, that makes this episode relevant for the Miami Dolphins. Tackle Isaiah Wynn was drafted in the first round to the New England Patriots in 2018. Now Miami Dolphins tackle Isaiah Wynn. What did you guys think about the Isaiah Wynn pickup? And do you think he could be a solid contributor? Do you think he could come in and start right now? What do you think his role is going to be for the Dolphins? We'll start with you, Lee.
I think, look, coming out of the draft, a lot of fans are disappointed. Might be the right word. The more attention wasn't paid to the offensive line coming out of let's say the first wave of free agency plus the draft. So any move is potentially a move in the right direction. I think it's not a needle mover on paper, but hey, this guy had first round talent, was selected in the first round. Like, I'm happy to kick that rock and see what happens. Worst case scenario is he's no good and doesn't make the team better, doesn't make the team. But we know we're not happy with what we've got, which means we have to try something. And if that just involves bringing bodies in at this time of the year, what's the roster? 92?
90-something. It's in the 90s.
So, I'm all for bringing in as many tackles as possible and seeing if anyone is going to pan out them better than what's on the team. Obviously, we're talking right tackle here because Teron has obviously got that locked down on the left. But the Isaiah Wynn, having started experience at left tackle might actually be in his favor. We know Teron has not historically played every game of the season. So having a guy who is naturally a left tackle might be a benefit to have that guy on the roster.
I think people see him as tackle competition. I see him as left guard competition. I think he could potentially come in and win the job of Liam Eichenberg. I think Isaiah Wynn is someone who has the ability to play across the line. I think, one of my friends who writes for Deadspin, PFF, he showed me the game against the Colts last year in which he played left guard and played really, really well. I know Mitchell Schwartz, the former tackle, he kind of looked at the pickup as someone who played on the right-hand side of the line over the past few years and hasn't really impressed and done most of his better work out on the left. So I see him as the Liam Eichenberg competition, the essentially potential sixth man on the line, and someone who you dress on game day, knowing that if any of your starters go down, you have someone who comes in and has experience. I also think it's a further sign from this organization in that they haven't drafted well early in terms of offensive linemen. So you're not just this pickup, but the Isaiah Wilson pickup last year. It looks like they're trying to find players who have experience in the league, pick them up on cheap deals. If they work out, great. If they don't work out, is what it is. The Dolphins added someone else on Monday. I'm sure we'll get into that, but it looks like that's the way they're going. They're not going to spend premium draft picks on offensive linemen. They're going to essentially bring in guys who know the league, know the position, and if they get something from these guys, great. If not, like Lee said, you didn't really give up much, if anything at all.
Bro, I agree with half of what you said, and I disagree with the other half. Like, I think the latter half of what you said was, maybe it was by design. I don't think it was necessarily by design. I think you got to let things come to you. Like, you got to let the draft come to you, whatever the draft is. We're not in a position to where we could dictate what happens in the draft, like with a whole bunch of first round picks and say, all right, we're moving back, we're moving up, we're going to trade 2 picks and all this other good stuff. So you kind of got to let it come to you. And we're in a Super Bowl window now where the cap is a real thing. We got to be careful with the cap. So certain things we can't even entertain when it comes to the cap. So when it comes to O-line, first thing Coach McDaniel said the first month he was here was, Tua needs weapons, and that was the hashtag for 2 years here in Miami, right? So when McDaniel, you had so many holes, you can't just fill them all, you can't plug them all. So for Coach McDaniel to decide, you know what, I'm okay with this O-line. Let's get this man weapons. He gets his weapons, and to be fair, the O-line didn't get to a hurt, not once, right? None of those injuries were because of the O-line. Just to be fair,
just one injury.
I said none of the injuries.
Yeah, I'm saying one of his injuries came from the offensive line.
Which one?
The one against Buffalo, where the right tackle just like gave up instantly. Like that's an offensive line.
Hold on, which we talking about a rib injury?
The rib injury, yeah.
Yeah, that was in last season.
Oh, sorry.
I'm talking about post McDaniel. McDaniel.
That's cool. That's
right.
Fine, yeah.
So with that being said, I do think this is also due diligence. Isaiah Wynn is available. Is he going to kill us in the cap? 1, and 2, is he better than what we have on our team? And they check the boxes. He's not going to kill us in the cap, and he is better than what we have on the team. Where is he better on the team? We don't know yet. I'm pretty sure you can look at the roster. What, you got 8 linemen. He's probably, I don't know. You probably got like 9 linemen. So he's probably what, 5th, 6th, 4th? We don't know. But I think the Dolphins are going to entertain him at right tackle. And if he doesn't work out at right tackle, they'll put him at left guard if he beats Eichenberg. And in the spirit of, in the spirit of Leon Eichenberg, we drafted you. We kind of want you to win this job, but don't get it twisted. Isaiah Wynn is on the team now, and he's going to push every position on the line to get a starting spot. And then out of the 17 games, I want to say Teron Armstead was hurt for 14 of them, but played, right? So you can see him backing up Teron Armstead at left tackle. To be fair to Isaiah Wynn, he has a lot of injuries of his own. He's not always healthy. However, he played 43 games and started 40 of them. Most of them were at left tackle, where he's better at. And then his last season was at right tackle, where he was not that good. So for everyone who wants this to be the answer at right tackle, I don't believe it will be. I don't even think it can be. But I do think he will contribute to this line this year. And in my opinion, Kadeem, this is why I agree. I think he's going to start left guard. Lee, bro, a lot of stuff happened in the offseason. We haven't seen Tua in feels like 6 calendar months. It might have been 6 calendar months. You know what I'm saying? So we haven't seen Tua in 6 calendar months. We just can't wait to see what he's going to do. The beginning of last season, it was, what's this team going to look like? Coach McDaniel. Let's see. Can't wait to see what we get. Started the season 8-3 was the best looking record we had of the season. And then Tua got hurt against the Bengals, and it was like, yo, we still don't know where we are as a team in this league. Here we are again. The season's come back around. We have huge expectations. I know I have huge expectations. What are your expectations for the Dolphins this season?
To win it all.
So you expect us to win the Super Bowl this year?
Why not? Do you know what I mean? We are excited because of what we saw, not because of what we didn't see, because of what we saw.
Mm-hmm.
So the sky is the limit. Like, tell me we don't win more games with Tua at quarterback. Tell me we don't win on the road in the playoffs with Tua playing quarterback. Like, Skylar almost took us to a win. And Skylar had his struggles on the day, but he almost willed us to a win. He was doing enough. There's not a single part of me that believes Tua doesn't push us over the line in that particular game. Right now, all of a sudden, we're a playoff win last season. The sky is true limit. I believe we are a better team than last year, and I believe last year we win more games with Tua stays healthy. Obviously, that's a huge question mark, but I choose to go off the hey, why can't he be healthy? I think he's going to learn. I think it's really funny that he's doing jiu-jitsu. Is it jiu-jitsu?
Hey, you know what? Someone else on this podcast is doing jiu-jitsu too. I was looking for my gi actually because I just packed it up in my bag because I got jiu-jitsu after this podcast. Matter of fact, let me get this off. You lucky I can't get this shirt off. It don't want me to take it off.
Charlie, so if you're watching on YouTube, Charlie's struggling to get his hoodie off, but then Charlie also reckons he can tap out William Hayes. Yeah, he did. This is why I'm not a betting man, and more of that later. But I'm putting my money on Will Hayes every single day of the week. I'm just saying.
Let's get it.
But isn't it funny that he's doing jiu-jitsu, not because it's jiu-jitsu, but it's funny because we had the very same conversation in our chat, 2/3 of the way through last season about, hey, maybe this guy needs to take wrestling training. Mm-hmm. Maybe this guy needs to learn how to fall. Because like you say, the injuries weren't on the O-line. A lot of those injuries are on Tua himself. Okay, it wasn't playing well in the Cincinnati game anyway, but that ball needed to come out. That play was dead. Throw it away. Move on.
That was the most egregious of them all. Not just the egregious injury, but you held on to the ball too long injury. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. I would have him watching Russell Wilson tape all season. Russell Wilson is great at just stepping out of bounds, just throwing the ball away. Forget the record last year in Denver. Look at Russell Wilson's complete body of work. He doesn't take as many unnecessary hits as a lot of other quarterbacks. He could be, look, this is all we need you to do. We are better with you there. I'm happy to throw away a play. If you don't like it when you stand up, just throw the ball out of bounds. I don't care, because it's far more important that you are standing there for the next play than you're put on your butt. You're too valuable. You need to understand your worth, and not every play is worth chasing to the death. You have to. I think you have to. And again, it's just a learning experience. It's just growing, but you need to learn. How valuable you are to this team, and it's okay to say, I am more important than this one play.
Is there anything on the schedule, even if it's not on the schedule, is there anything that you see in this season that worries you? Like, man, you know what? I like what we got going on, but I am a little concerned about X, Y, or Z. Is there anything that worries you on the schedule, on or off the schedule?
Me and Kadeem were actually talking about this earlier, funnily enough, on another podcast. But for me, none of my thoughts change post the schedule coming out. The teams I thought we would beat last week before the schedule came out, I believe we'll beat this week, because there is nothing on that schedule which is particularly scary. I mean, the international trip is tough on both teams, but Dolphins are going to be an underdog going into that game no matter what, whether it's in Arrowhead, whether it's the Dolphins, whether it's at Hard Rock or whether it's international, kind of irrelevant. So, I mean, you've got one short week in there. That's great. I do like the fact that the Chargers game comes in week 1, because let's be honest, the Dolphins put up a terrible performance in Los Angeles last time. I know Tyreek was playing hurt, Waddle was playing hurt, but I mean, that wasn't a great showing. Everything was just off by a hair. So I'm interested to see how coach changes his approach to that this year with regards to traveling out there. I mean, he's going to have nearly 2 weeks beforehand to do whatever he wants. If you want to be out there early and acclimatise, you can do it. If you want to travel late, you can do it. Like, other than that, pretty happy with the way everything else pans out. I do think some of those primetime games, it'd be interesting to see the kind of adjustments. I thought the Dolphins last year didn't play their best football in primetime till the Buffalo game late in the season. I thought that early game on the road in Cincinnati, like I say, okay, obviously the Tua injury changes everything, but before that, the team were not playing well. X was playing hurt. They're getting kind of cooked on defense a little. The offense was just off. It wasn't playing at the same level it had the previous week. And then what was the other road game in prime time? Oh, the flex Chargers game where they went and played badly on the road in San Francisco and then followed it up with a poor performance in Los Angeles. But that late road game in New England, in Buffalo, in the snow, in prime time,
Right.
they got it fixed. I think they, rookie head coach, rookie coaching staff. I think, I think he learned from week 3, I think it was, against the Bengals to that late season game. I also think it's going to help massively from a coaching staff point of view to have an experienced guy like Vic Fangio, someone who's been head coach as well. Like, you can lean on that. I think it's important. I think that we saw Sean McVay hire Wade Phillips when he first became a coach. I thought that was just like, that was one of the most brilliant coaching signings for a rookie head coach, is to bring someone in with that much experience and take some of the burden. So yeah, I'm glad Vic Fangio was brought in, and I think we're going to see the benefits of that. But yeah, I thought Coach McDaniel kind of figured some stuff out there a bit later in the year.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The stuff that I feel like McDaniel struggled with, Fangio can't even fix. It's the offensive play calling coming in faster. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's on you, coach. That's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we gotta. I have this image in my head of Craycraft 400 in the Buffalo game. Like, yo, get the play. We need to play. And where's the play? Where's the play? Where's the play? And I'll never forget it. And even on the it's the playoffs. We got Skylar Thompson in. You have to do every single thing to help your third string quarterback, not your backup, your third string quarterback. Yeah. And I think coach knows it. I'm sure the front office has told him, like, bro, you have to do better. Now, yeah, we have to do better, but you got to be better when you can be better. And I'm gonna ask you the same thing, Kadeem. Like, we kind of know where you are with the expectations as far as the record. With the schedule, we kind of went through the best case scenario, worst case scenario with the schedule for you and myself. But is there anything off the schedule that you like, you know what? This is not really on the schedule, but I am a little concerned about this. Is there anything that you can foresee for the Miami Dolphins that might be an obstacle this season?
Not really. Something we haven't discussed, Charlie, but I've discussed with Lee on another podcast. And Lee, like, feel free to plug the podcast. Like,
the man said another podcast, bro. Like, what's up with this dude?
Yeah, it's like
another podcast, like, bro, DolFan UK. You feel me? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's the preseason games. So mind if I quickly hand over to Lee to tell us what the preseason games and stuff like that, and then I guess I'll jump back in and give my thoughts. And if Lee doesn't have the preseason games, I think I know them off the top of my head. So
yeah, I've got them here.
Cool. So Lee, over to you.
Week 1 of the preseason, it's home against the Falcons. Week 2, it's on the road at Houston, and week 3 is on the road at Jacksonville.
Run that back. Say that one more time, please.
Home against the Falcons, on the road against the Texans, on the road against the Jags.
So my whole thing is, I'd be interested and wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins hold joint practices against 2, if not all of those teams, and essentially, not run their plays, but you see more of what they're going to do across the season in the joint practices. It's off it's not on tape. It's not on a preseason game. The whole NFL can't see it. I don't think we play any of those teams this season. So it's not even like you're showing something to a team you're going to play this season unless you meet the Jags or Texans in the playoffs, or the Falcons reach the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think hold your own practices, show what you've got to show, run what you've got to run in those situations. I think we said this last year, but kind of run it back again. Joint practices really does allow you to say, okay, we're gonna recreate this situation. 3rd and 10 from the 13th. It's third and goal essentially. What do we have? Which you can't really replicate in the preseason games. So yeah, I think I expect to essentially, when you get to preseason, barely see Tua, barely see Waddle, barely see Hall, because again, it's the second year in the system. So it's not like last season you had to play these guys in preseason and try and get things out, because it was a case of, okay, you guys are all in the system. It's, hey, you guys should know the system by now. Yeah, there's some different plays in it, but you kind of know what we're going to run. So yeah, that's my little take on preseason. That's the only thing which I'm a bit up in the air about right now. But in terms of the schedule and all that kind of stuff, nah. Although also Lee had a really good Giants nugget as well, but that's not my nugget to share. So,
you got something for us, Lee? What's up?
I was gonna say Dolphins just have a terrible record at home against the Giants.
No, I'm not worried about that this year.
They have a terrible record.
I'm not worried about no type of history stat at all against the Giants. Like home or away, I'm not worried about it this year. Not even a little bit. Like, and if Vegas wants to help us out with that line and just go with the side of history, feel free. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not afraid about it this year. But is there an actual stat? Is it like the Giants beat us the past 10 out of 12 times or something?
Beat us the last 4 out of 5. Well, beat us 4 out of the only 5. The only matchup we won was the last one, which was 2 years ago, 20-9 against Mike Glennon, who played as backup quarterback for the Giants.
I am not even worried about that, bro. So Kadeem, I think you had us at what was the best case scenario as far as the record? Was it 12? Oh, it's 13-4.
Yeah.
And worst case for you was what?
I think like 10-7. I think
10-7 was the worst case, and 13-4 was the best case. For you, Lee, I'll tell you that my best case was 12-5, and my worst case was 10-7 too. Like I just don't see us. I think Vegas has us at 9.5 right now. I don't see us going under 10 wins. I can't. And I kind of played it to 12 wins with room to grow, because I'm sure the closer we get to the season, I'm sure that number's going to go up for me. But I played it conservative and said 12 wins. Where do you have us, bro? Like,
so I went
taking off the Dolphin glasses. Where do you have us? Like, how many wins, how many losses?
I've never taken off the Dolphins glasses. I went with 14 wins last week on the pod.
14 wins.
I had I had the Dolphins as a 12-win team last year, right? And that's obviously at the start of the season when I'm picking games. I'm not factoring in like, I think Tua's going to get hurt.
For sure.
So, and I think factoring Tua back into the games that he did get hurt, I think we could have hit 12 wins without too much hassle. So I think we're a better team this year than last year. I believe the defense will take a step forwards, and we won't see such a disparity between offense and defense.
Here's something funny. I had us at 14 wins last year. You had us at 12 wins last year. I have us at 12 wins this year, and you have us at 14 this year. So maybe if we could just meet in the middle, and we'll be happy with 13.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Name.
Like, yo, listen. So at 14. Do we win the AFC conference? Are we the first seed?
Yeah, I mean, do you think we would have been close last year if Tua had played every game? I mean, we were we were close there for the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
late in the year.
Tua playing every game, meaning he didn't even get hurt in the Cincinnati game either. Is that what you mean as well?
You can give him that if you want. You can take a loss for that one.
I listen, bro. I think if Tua played that Cincinnati game, I don't think we would have lost. I also think. You said if he doesn't get hurt. So now we have to go to Green Bay game. He got hurt in the Green Bay game. If he doesn't get hurt in the Green Bay game, I think we win that.
I remember talking to Jay, right? Talking to Jay at halftime of that game. Sorry, the end of the third quarter of that game. I said to him, something is wrong with Tua. This is not like he didn't forget how to play football at halftime. The guy is absolutely insane in the first half, and then fell off a cliff in the third. Like something was clearly wrong.
Let me push back a little bit, because I think everyone on this podcast knows where I am with Tua and the concussions and then the Buffalo hit, right? The early on Buffalo hit. The only Miami Dolphin podcast that has an annual CTE awareness episode is Go Time Dolphins. So I think we all understand how much it like mental health during Mental Health Awareness Month here in the United States means to Go Time Dolphins. That being said, for those who, being devil's advocate, for those who say Tua had a concussion against Green Bay and played poorly at the end of halftime or third quarter, fourth quarter, and then say that he played with a concussion and beat the Bills with a concussion in game 3 of the season, what do you say about that? Like, there's people who believe he had a concussion and then came back and beat the Bills earlier on during the year. But then, he threw the pick at the end of the Green Bay game. I love Tua, bro. But at the same time, it is a conversation to be had. I do think if the man is healthy, bro, you see my power rankings? I got us as the second best team in the league. Like, I literally have us as second best team in the league. It's number 2 after the Chiefs. And if I'm being real with you, I understand that I give the Chiefs the credit because they've done it. But they look different right now, bro. Like, the Chiefs, if the Chiefs do it with this team too, the team that they're about to have with no one wide receiver, they don't have any ones over there. They just have Kelsey Mahomes. That is it. If they pull it off this year, bro, Andy Reid needs to be Mount Rushmore. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I really do think the Dolphins are the second best team in the NFL. For my dollar, I think we win the division this year. I'm being honest. I really do think we win the division. I hoped Aaron Rodgers would come into our division because I think the Jets give Buffalo a problem now, and that helps us out. So I'm here, man. I do think we win the division. I think we're the second best team in the conference, in the NFL, actually. And I think it's our year, bro. I'm on record saying Tua will win the Super Bowl in his rookie contract, and we're on pace right now. And I believe that. I'm not just saying it just to say it. And since I invoked the name Aaron Rodgers, I'll let you start off this time, Kadeem. Aaron Rodgers is getting settled into the division. The news has come and gone. How you feel about Aaron Rodgers? Is that something we need to look out for? Like they got him with more wins than the Dolphins right now, right? 10? Or is it 9.5? It's the same as the Dolphins.
I couldn't tell you that. I can't remember where I had the Jets in my power rankings, but I think I want to say it was around like 15, 16. I think I'm not one to just subscribe to this whole, the Dolphins. So the Jets really aren't that good given who they beat last year was essentially a bunch of second and third string quarterbacks. When they played someone good, they lost. I hate to admit they are an emerging team, but I just think given who they brought in, given how Aaron Rodgers has looked in Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers' attitude, which isn't a well-kept secret anymore, I think there could be problems there. And like I said on the DolFan UK podcast, and I think I've said it here as well, I wouldn't be surprised if that Black Friday game, the Jets have a losing record, and Rodgers is really annoyed with not just his teammates, but the New York media as well. And he's like, "No, I'm done. Like, I'm not returning next season. This season's done." So the Dolphins, I don't say have 2 gimme games against the Jets, but the Dolphins aren't playing the Jets team that are fighting for the AFC. If that makes sense.
I genuinely believe that the paper plane season will look more like Denver's season with Russell Wilson than it does like Tom Brady's with Tampa. It's like everyone thinks that Aaron Rodgers on a paper plane is going to make it look like, oh, this is the Super Bowl year. I think it's going to look more like Russell Wilson his first year in Denver. What do you think, Lee?
I'll be honest. I just don't care about the Jets. Guess what? We played them 2 times this year like we played them last year. We split with them last year. If we split with them this year, will be absolutely fine as well, because we still only played them twice. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
It's all that matters. If we can beat them twice, then they can do whatever they want the rest of the time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said this last year about Buffalo. Everyone's like, "Oh, you got to go and win in Buffalo. You got to win in Buffalo. You got to win in Buffalo." If you only lose 2 games all season, it's to Buffalo.
Yep.
You can still go to the playoffs and never see them again. Do you know what I mean? You got to have some context here. People just get so excited when quarterbacks move, especially quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers. But let's see how it pans out before we start getting excited or worried.
I actually had Buffalo beating us twice last year. In that 14-3, I thought 2 of those losses would be to Buffalo, and we'd still be that team that everyone feared. So to wrap this up, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even think Buffalo is that good anymore. I think they're on the decline. If you look at their last 5 games, they look terrible. They had the momentum of the DeMar Hamlin thing. The world was going for them, and they still couldn't capitalize off of it. So I no longer fear Buffalo. Although I still think they're a good team, I just don't think I think their window closed. It's either closed or it's closing rapidly. And I honestly believe the Jets can beat. I'm sorry, the Paper Planes can beat Buffalo. So yeah, man, you about to say something? I cut you off, Lee.
No, I completely agree. I'm completely with you. I think people get too hooked up on individual teams on the schedule. You got to beat this team. You could beat one team and lose to every single other team. Does that make it if you beat the Chiefs this year, or you beat the Eagles, or you beat both of them, but you lose every other game, it means nothing. Do you know what I mean? Let's say we didn't have 2 or 3 for the Jets games last year, and we split with them, and we went to the playoffs. If we have 2 against Aaron Rodgers and we split with them this year, I'd be okay with it. It's not going to ruin our season, I don't think, to lose one game against the Jets if you win the other.
Bro, let us know where we can find you. Tell everyone where they can find you, and come on over to Bonus Time with us before you go, bro.
You can find me at 5YardLee on Twitter and on the DolFan UK podcast, and hopefully, again, here soon.
DolFan UK podcast. Hey, y'all come on over to Bonus Time with us. Mental Health Awareness Month. Don't suffer in silence. Talk to somebody. Y'all already know what time it is. Stay positive. Test negative. For Kadeem Simmons and 5YardLee, I'm Charlie Touche. Thank you for tuning in this time. Make sure you catch us next time on Go Time.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. Go. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Go. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time.
I know I had a story for Bonus Time, but I will say that for another episode. It's great. It's hilarious. The Dolphins not only brought in Isaiah Wynn this weekend. On Monday they brought in defensive back Bryce Thompson. Spent 2 years at the Saints. Recently just signed from the XFL, and they also brought in former first-round tackle. I'm going to get his name wrong, but I apologize. Cedric Ogbuwe, drafted by the Bengals in 2015, I believe. He spent a lot of time at left tackle, some time at right tackle, played for various different teams. Again, looks like the Dolphins aren't quite happy at tackle, to the point where they're still bringing in players, as well as drafting someone in the 7th round and another DB. Don't expect either of you to be like, oh, they are good at X, Y, and Z, because I was like, who and who? But Charlie, your thoughts before passing to Lee in terms of these 2 moves?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit earlier than the Touche's 24 years. You know what I'm saying? So 2015, I actually don't even know who that is. I can't remember where I was in 2015. I was about to say something that was going to get me in trouble. That's what I was about to I'm going to just tell you what I was going to say. I was going to say I was about to get married. You know what I'm saying? But I'm single, so I can say that. You know what I'm saying? But obviously I didn't get married. So that's what I was doing in 2015. But I mean, these are just positions. You got to bring in competition. If you can have 90 people up to, what is it, like the second week of the preseason, then you're going to bring in 90 people up to the second week of the preseason. And if someone shows up because they've been waiting on this opportunity their whole life, maybe you land on something. But at the end of the day, you just got to bring in competition, people who's going to push, and maybe you find something. Man, the Dolphins are good at finding these nuggets, man. Like Nick Needham was undrafted. A terrible preseason. Ended up panning out for the Miami Dolphins. Preston Williams, undrafted. Although he was injury prone and only played 8 games in each season, it looked pretty promising at first. Kader Kohu is, in my opinion, the starting nickel corner on this football team that it happens to be the best secondary in the NFL, and Kader Kohu was undrafted. So I was just saying this to a friend about, the Miami Heat made it to the Eastern Conference Championship. The Florida Panthers made it to the conference championship. Yo, it's time for the Dolphins. You feel me? We're going to make it to the conference championship at minimum. And I was just saying this, how the Spurs and the Heat have the best developmental system in the league, right? And the Dolphins can't be just sneezed at, bro. Like we found some nuggets that were undrafted and turned some players into, okay, I see what you did here. So I trust what's going on with the Dolphins franchise. And I know we're kind of jaded. I know we had this relationship with the Dolphins. It's like, not again. But, yo, we're close. And I believe we're closer than what a lot of people think. Go ahead, Lee.
First of all, amazing to see the Heat get into the Eastern Conference Finals. Hey, there's a lot of late nights over here watching the Heat play. But, hey, we're going to finals, so it's all good. When it comes to the players that the Dolphins have signed, the one bugbear I have about this is I don't think it pans out often enough when you bring in a player who is naturally a left tackle and try and play him at right tackle. Doesn't work when you try and – I don't like it when teams do it when you try and draft someone. Don't like it when they do it at free agency because it just more often than not does not work out. There's too many people draft night, and I'm one of those absolute football nerds that sits there and watches rounds, the last day of the draft all the way through and just, absolute doom watches the NFL draft. But, the amount of players come up, this guy projects, he's played right tackle all his life, but he projects as a guard. So how often has that actually worked? It doesn't work. Because once he gets to the NFL, it's like he's never played this position ever, and now he's playing it against the best players in the world. Mm-hmm. So, I struggle to buy into it too much. I just don't think it happens often enough. But this time of the year, any of those players kind of, let's say between 75 and 90 odd on the roster, those players are churned in and out. Like, we're going to keep kicking stones and keep bringing players in until we find players that stick. And if not, they won't be here come the start of the season. I think all of us agree the O-line could do with work other than maybe what? There's only 2 positions where you'd say it'd be very hard to upgrade. Everyone else is possibly upgradable. So keep bringing players in until you find people you're happy with. If not, you can run with the same O-line that you had beforehand. It doesn't matter. But at least this way you're bringing players in and trying to make it.